Is treasure hunting in Upland dead? Upland just released an important update regarding treasure hunting, and it is not good. What does it mean for treasure hunters, and what does it mean for the future of Upland? I'm going to dive into that in this video. I'm YK2012, founder of the Upland Guide. On this channel, you can learn everything you need to know about the Upland Metaverse, tutorials, strategy, tips, tricks, and a lot more. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so. On November 11th, Upland announced that it has come to their attention that treasure hunting via web browser is currently being manipulated in ways that compromise the intended competitive spirit of Upland. As a result, we have temporarily disabled browser-based treasure hunting. At this time, we don't have an ETA on when it will return. However, this process is likely to take some time. If you've been following my content for a while, you already know that I'm not a huge fan of treasure hunting. I know that a lot of people do enjoy it, and it can be a great way to earn both UPX and Spark in Upland. Treasure hunting is a skill that you can learn, and you can get better at it in order to find these treasures faster and faster. There are standard treasure hunts where you compete against the clock, and competitive hunts where you compete against other players. Over the past 6 months or so, Upland has made several changes to how treasure hunting works. If you had enough time on a regular basis to invest in standard treasure hunting, and you had enough properties in a city, you could theoretically treasure hunt indefinitely. You could pretty much guarantee yourself winning UPX and Spark with pretty much no downside except for the amount of time that you invest in doing it. To counter that, the more that you as a player do standard treasure hunts on a daily basis, you will have to pay more UPX to spawn additional treasures. At some point, it makes it no longer worth it to continue hunting. Upland has also removed a number of the hints, making it more difficult for you to gauge the distance of where the treasure is. And now we have this report that the treasure hunting on the web browser has been compromised. Now, of course, this is bad news for Upland and terrible news for players who actively treasure hunt, especially on the web browser. So are we experiencing a complete collapse of treasure hunting? And what does this mean for the rest of Upland? There are some players that treasure hunt who have hundreds of properties strategically mapped out across different cities in order to ensure that wherever they go, they're going to be increasingly closer to any treasure that might be on the map. This will save them send fees and thus increasing their earnings when they do find a treasure. There's no beating around the bush in saying that players who are dedicated treasure hunters and see Upland as primarily a game in order to treasure hunt will be most affected by this. But if you're a relatively new player and I would say an amateur at treasure hunting, someone that does it on some occasions but not dedicated to it, this may not be such a big deal for you. Of course, seeing one aspect of this game being compromised is absolutely something that is concerning. And yes, it is also unfortunate that there's a situation where a few bad apples are spoiling it for everybody else. For players who joined Upland after 2022, I just want to remind you that even before there were MetaVentures, even before there was Spark, there were only two things that you could really do in Upland. Those were buying and selling properties and treasure hunting. Today we've got legits, we've got manufacturing, we've got cars and car racing. Upland has partnerships with big brands like the NFL Players Association and FIFA, and there are also dev shops where any player can create a game and connect that to the Upland Metaverse as well. Within those games, players are able to compete against each other in order to earn UPX. Treasure hunting has become extremely popular because it is an easy way for players to start earning Spark. By doing standard treasure hunts where you're only competing against the clock, you earn Spark approximately 5% of the treasures that you find. Once you master the skill of treasure hunting, it becomes a function of how much time you invest treasure hunting to how much Spark you are able to earn. There are other ways that you can get Spark as well by winning some contests, or you can even purchase it during Spark Week. But again, not everyone wants to compete at those levels or spend money on Spark. So if we look at the competition aspect of this treasure hunting, I can see a lot more players starting to get involved in car racing or other layer 2 games and spending less time treasure hunting. This is going to be especially true for newer players who probably don't have dozens or even hundreds of properties in a specific city. Before 2022, Upland had significantly fewer players in the metaverse, and newer city releases were less competitive, and players who had large amounts of UPX were able to mint many properties in a city. This has not so much been the case recently. As a new player who isn't necessarily interested in investing lots of money in order to mint lots of properties all around a city in order to create a treasure web, might be inclined to looking elsewhere at other layer 2 games where they can find other ways to compete and play other games. Now, as for players who treasure hunt in order to earn Spark, it's still possible. You're just going to have to use an app and a mobile device. This isn't the first time that treasure hunters have had to learn how to adapt, and even players who are not big treasure hunters have had to learn how to adapt within the Upland Metaverse. Whether it be new features, new city releases, there are lots of things that Upland throws at us that can potentially change the way you think about Upland and your strategy. So is this the beginning of the end of treasure hunting in the Upland Metaverse? I really don't think it is. I think that people are going to continue to learn how to adapt, and their desire to continue to earn Spark for free through treasure hunting will lead them to adapt to these new changes. I hope that Upland can learn from this and resolve this situation quickly so that people can go back to treasure hunting on their computers. As one of the initial features in the game, treasure hunting has been an important part of the Upland Metaverse, and I can't see Upland abandoning it, and I can just hope that they find a quick solution. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Are you going to continue treasure hunting, or has this changed the strategy in which you're approaching Upland?